welcome back to my channel Aetherea. If you're new here, my name is Sina and I'm here to help you and guide you to make your own beautiful whimsical garments. And in today's video I will want to show you how I made this beautiful nightgown that is inspired again by a Victorian nightgown that I saw on Pinterest. And the construction of this pattern was quite simple. It is actually based off a circle skirt and then added the armhole on each side, if that makes sense. I will show you how to construct the pattern together, so don't worry about this. It is a bit time consuming because you will need to hem the whole circle, and this does take some time, and also depending on what type of circle you're gonna use. In this video I actually did two versions as an experiment with the 12. So one was a half circle and the other one was a quarter circle, and I will show you the differences in the video as well, like why I choose this over this, but of course you can choose whatever you want. It's technically the same principle, so yeah, you can experiment and make your own. I'm just giving you again the blueprint, and you can go ahead and be creative with the pattern and make something for yourself. As always, I would recommend for you to watch the whole video first to get an idea of my sewing process, the skills that I use, the techniques that I actually use, and then you can figure out for yourself if this is something you can do, you want to do, or you can also think of other ways of creating it. So there's not only one solution of getting this type of garment. Like literally with all of my videos, there are always some certain ways you can change. Sewing is like a puzzle, so just do whatever you want. As long as you make a 12 first, please do this. And if you do actually create one of my designs, please show it to me, because I really would love to see some people's designs. Let's stop chit-chatting and go into the video. Happy sewing! Before drafting the pattern, you'll need to take a few measurements. First, I took my bust measurement. Just make sure the tape is straight and not sitting wonky on you. Then I measured from armpit to armpit, or even better from bra strap to bra strap. To figure out the armhole depth, take a piece of paper and sandwich it under your arm, then use a pen to mark the sides of your arm. Once that's done, mark where you want your armhole to stop, and then take your tape and measure the marked point to where the sleeve will attach to the bodice. Note that number down. To get the middle of the side seam, measure the width of the points and divide it by 2. This will be your armhole width. Now that we have all the essential measurements, let's start drafting the pattern. We're gonna start with the front. First, we need to figure out the radius, and to do that, take your bust measurement and divide it by 2, and then plug that measurement into a circle skirt calculator. I personally use By Hand London. You can find the link in the description box below. Once you have the radius, draw it up. Then determine the length of your gown and draw up another circle, starting again from that one corner. Then create another box where you mark your underarm measurement, the half one, and the length of the armhole. Once you have the armhole box, it's time to use that box as a guide to draw up a deep curve. The front armhole is usually more scooped than the back. We will check and refine the curves when we draw the back piece later on. And here we have it, that's your front pattern piece. Moving on to drafting the back piece, we're gonna do the same steps as the front. The only difference here will be the curve of the armhole. The curve needs to be more shallow than the front. Take your front and back pattern pieces and make sure that the seams align neatly and that the armholes are squared off. Next, make sure that the front armhole is more deeply curved than the back. You can check if the curves are sitting comfortable when you make a 12. Once you're happy with the pattern, add your seam allowances. Now it's time to test your design by creating a toile. Don't skip the step, it's super important. A toile allows you to make adjustments without the risk of ruining your final fabric, especially if it's expensive. So I went ahead, printed out my pattern and stitched up a toile. I made actually two versions. I wanted to see how much volume I would get from half a circle versus a quarter circle. As you can see, the half was very voluminous, while the quarter circle had less volume, and it yet felt more comfortable for me. I didn't really want it to drawn in fabrics, so a quarter was my choice. Of course, you can feel free and use a half circle, but you would need a lot of fabric if you want to have a long length. I also made sure at this point that the underarm curves looked and felt comfortable. Okay, let me explain what I'm gonna do here. I put my fabric, it's one layer, so it's not double folded, and I laid it flat on my fabric. My pattern piece is right here, and I just realized when I wanted to put it onto the fabric that I actually do not have a guide point from where to take it to create the outer circle. So I took a piece of the paper, and what I've done, I matched it along, and now I know that from this part and to this part, this is my point where I'm going to measure to continue the circle. This is what I'm going to do. This is the front side. I'm going to do the same thing with the back side. Okay, I've cut the front. Now I'm gonna cut the back to make my life a little bit easier. I put the front on the next layer, and then I'm gonna cut the bigger outer circle, and then I'm just gonna work on the armhole and put my back pattern on top of it, because it was just the armhole depth that was a bit different. And yeah, let's go cut. Once I cut the front and the back, I pinned and sewed the side seams together. I then used my seam roller to really open up the seams. If you have a serger, feel free to use it. I personally love to make my life a little bit harder and do extra steps to have a different finish than the standard overlock look. I again use the flat seam method for this project. It means that one side of the seam will be cut shorter than the other seam, and the other seam that is longer will be rolled on top of it and then stitched. To bind the front and the back together through the straps, I had to make some bias tape. I won't really go into depth here on how to make the bias tape, because there are lots and lots of videos on YouTube explaining how to, but if you want, I can always make a special video on that topic. Let me know in the comment section. Once I had my bias tape, I again measured from bra strap to bra strap to make sure I got the right measurement and cut the bias tape according to that measurement 2 times, one for the back and one for the front. To create a gathering stitch, I stitch along the curve of the front and on the back. I gather the fabric until it matched the bias tape I cut. I then pinned the bias tape to the front and then stitched it in place. Then I folded the bias tape again and stitched it to secure it in place and hide the raw edges. To add the straps, I started by placing the bias tape on the side seam of the gown, leaving about 2 cm extra. Then I pinned the bias tape all around the armhole, binding the front and back together. To determine the amount of length for the strap, I wore the gown and adjusted it to my liking. I then went ahead and sewed the bias tape in place. This step is optional. I had some applique left from an upcycling project and the whites matched each other perfectly. I wore the nightgown and pinned the applique where I wanted it to fall on me. Just by adding this beautiful lace, it elevated it from a standard nightgown into a romantic one. Once I was happy with the position, I put my gown on my mannequin and start hand stitching the applique in place. I genuinely thought that this won't take long, But oh boy was I wrong. I ended up spending about 8 hours hunched over my mannequin trying to hand stitch to every single detail. All that's left now was to level the bottom of the gown. I used my trusty leveler as my guide to achieve a leveled look. Once leveled, I had to hem the bottom. And here we have it, a beautiful nightgown that is extremely comfortable and romantic, perfect for hot summer days. I love how this nightgown turned out, and I have already worn it so many times that it became one of my favorite wear for sleeping. I will probably make another one at some point because one of this is definitely not enough. I hope you enjoyed watching me make this gown. If you're interested in more sewing projects like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and drop any questions you may have in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!